The City of Roses, the City of Bridges, Rip City. Like most metropolitan areas in America, Portland, Oregon is struggling to find its way back after the pandemic. Homelessness, drug addiction, crime, and mental illness are constantly highlighted in the news. What I want to know is, how bad is it? Media rhetoric keeps asking, is Portland over, or is Portland dying? Are they right about that? Is it more like a terminal cancer or a mild cold? There are many ways we could explore this. I choose to start by talking with Mac Smith, a local journalist, editor, and community organizer. His focus is on the hip-hop and black community of Portland, as well as city politics.
I love that people think that Portland is dying, because hopefully people will stop moving here. I think that Portland is not dying in reality. It's obviously a city that is growing and has heavy investment at the moment. I think that a lot of the talk of these things sometimes comes from a different place, where people are trying to really just play with real estate values and make moves to take land and renegotiate the use of land. People are hungry, people are needy, people are stealing, and yet the rich still hoard. And so that has a natural consequence that we're seeing, and people are trying to say that as a result of that the city is dying. It's not just Portland. I think that most liberal cities, or cities on the West Coast, to be more specific, are dealing with similar issues, and most of it, in my opinion, has to do with the hoarding of wealth.
Mac is about to transition into a personal story. I hate to interrupt him, but this seems like a good place to provide some context for what he was just talking about. While the hoarding of wealth has been an issue for a while, it was rampant during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, back to Mac.
Just the other day, I was in this office, and I looked out the window over here, and there was a car that had pulled up with a little old lady in it, and her car was full of stuff. I didn't know what was going on. And as I'm watching out, I'm on a meeting or call or whatever, and I'm looking out, I keep on checking out the window to see what's going on out there. And people start piling around the car, these people start coming up out of nowhere. And then she gets out the car, opens the trunk, and she just has clothes and food and snacks, and everyone's just like waiting for her, and they're just out there just like hanging out, having a good time, chatting and trading things. She's like, do you want this? Oh, I got enough socks. Well, we need a coat. I definitely need a coat. And it was just really heartwarming to see someone who, it's like this older white lady. She's just chilling, She's just in her little Prius, and she just pulls up, just full of stuff. You see stuff like that here in Portland. You see people stop and pull over and help people when they're in trouble. And that hasn't gone away. That's the small town things that people love about Portland. The city has definitely changed over the decades with, just the aggressive development stances that the city takes at times. It's not even like hidden gentrification type of stuff. It's very, very aggressive. And if you look at North Williams Avenue, that used to be all houses up and down the street, and now there's nary a house to be found. And that's intentional. So, that's what happens when you tear down family homes and build condos, that how many, 2 bedrooms are really needed in a city that's full of kids. So, it's all intentional, and we get what we deserve out of it.
1 year ago, we asked you the question, is Portland over? 1 year later, is the homeless problem better or worse? Is downtown recovering? What about vandalism and gun violence?
Negative press about Portland has been around for a while. Whether it be a Portland local news source or Fox News, it seems to be everywhere. Insights from one of the most awarded local publications might help. Ryan Hass is managing news editor for OPB.
I think the city is still thriving. I think obviously everything got shut down during the pandemic, and people focus a lot on the central city, but I think Portland, yes, that is part of Portland, but Portland's bigger than that too. There's many parts of this city on the east side that are thriving culturally. There's still creative people here. There's still arts and culture here. There's still amazing food here. all these things that sort of made Portland attractive to all these people in the 2010s, mid 2010s time. All that stuff is still here. I think like a lot of negativity, a lot of it starts online. I think you look in social media spaces, Reddit, Twitter, those kinds of places, you see a lot of this animosity arise. The press might read some negative thing online, they cover that, then that online community points to that article and says, look, this is the thing, this is, look how bad Portland is. And it sort of creates this feedback loop where it's just like one is sort of feeding off the negativity of the other. And so I think as journalists, we have to be careful to always be critical with ourselves of like, who is the source of this? Why am I doing this story? Is this story encompassing enough perspectives? It's easy to cover people sleeping outside as like, oh, this is a problem that we have to solve. That's easier to cover than saying like, oh, we've done a really bad job of this complicated system that is required to build housing, and here's how we fix this, right? Like that's, as journalists, it's a low level story to be like, oh, there was a fire downtown that was caused by someone who was sleeping outside who had a fire to keep warm at night or whatever. Or people died of drug overdoses. Like that, those are very easy stories to do. And it's much harder to say like, okay, why is that person sleeping outside? Why did that fire start? Did it start because someone had a fire, or did it start because people don't have a way to keep warm, or they don't have a place to go, or they don't, people can't rent a place in this city for, under $1,000. So I think unless we as journalists are asking those harder questions of like, what are the deeper issues that are causing some of these like things cropping up, then we're not really doing our jobs necessarily.
As Mac suggests, Portland is not dying, but rather a growing city with growing issues that aren't being addressed correctly. The hoarding of wealth and manipulation of land values are key factors here. Mac also suggests that most West Coast liberal cities are having these issues as well. Despite that, people are still helping each other, and the sense of community is still alive. As Ryan states, the pandemic completely shut down the city of Portland, and recovery from that has been slow, but parts of the city are thriving. The arts are still alive in the city. Events and shows are coming back. A lot of the negative rhetoric about Portland seems to be driven by online political echo chambers, and some media sources are one-siding their coverage of the issues to drive a narrative. Portland is still here. It has some issues to address, such as homelessness and drug addiction, which are a result of systemic issues like a lack of affordable housing, poverty, racism, and other forms of prejudice. You can't just metaphorically sweep these issues under the rug. You need to face them head on. The national media rhetoric appears to be fairly hyperbolic and driven by conservative and in some cases liberal agendas. That isn't to say that the issues aren't real, but it needs to be stated that the issues aren't the homeless or the drug addicted. It's the root causes of those afflictions that are the real issues, and it's not isolated to Portland either. So, for now, I'll just say that reports of Portland dying might be a little premature.